Hi there, it's Grant from Dome Music Technologies. I just wanted to make a video to demonstrate the use of the Poly Performance Controller module in creating selective pitch bend. I'll just show you what I mean by that. I've currently got the DCO60 module in here, which is a full polyphonic synthesizer based on the Juno 106. And it's currently normaled to the inputs. So you've got the poly pitch, poly gate, poly velocity, all normaled to the control panel. So you don't have to connect up any cables or anything like that. So currently what you have is if you play a chord, so C major, and then use a pitch bend, it's got a 2 semitone range. So any keys that you're playing will be transposed up or down by plus or minus 2 semitones. So that's moving from a C major chord up to a D major chord. Back down to C, and then down to B flat. If you were to take the poly pitch sources and plug them into the poly pitch here in the DCOs, then you get the same notes coming over, but the pitch bend doesn't have any effect. That's because the pitch bend gets overridden whenever you plug in an external poly pitch. So what I've got here is the ladder module, which is just keeping a monitor of the sustain pedal, and that in turn is patched into the sustain pedal in here. So if I was to hold down or play the individual notes of a chord in a staccato manner, then the notes will cut off as soon as I release each key. And if you just look at the voice indicators on the Poly Performance Controller, you'll see which voices are being triggered whenever I press a key, and then when the keys are released, it will go from a red LED to back to black like that. But you can hear that as long as the sustain pedal is held down, then the notes will continue to sustain on here. So play it first, the 4 notes of a C major chord, low to high, and I'll just release each note in turn without pressing the sustain pedal, and you can hear what that sounds like. Then if I hold down the sustain pedal, and those notes will continue to sustain for as long as I've got the sustain pedal held down, and then if I release the sustain pedal, all the notes go off. So you can see that there's a difference between the gates, the poly gate signals, which you're seeing here, and the behaviour of the sustain pedal. So the sustain pedal is independent of the gate signals. Doesn't matter at all what you're doing with the sustain pedal. The gate signals will follow what you're doing with the keyboard and nothing else. So it's completely independent. So if I was to hold down the notes, you can see on the voice indicators over here that the 4 notes are being held down for as long as I'm playing the keys. And then as soon as I take my fingers off the keyboard, they stop. But if I hold down the sustain pedal, do the same thing, then they continue on as long as I'm holding down the sustain pedal. So one of the functions of the Poly Performance Controller is to use the pitch bend as an input to it, and and that gets added to the poly pitch notes on this poly output here, which is called control plus pitch. So if I take this away from the main poly pitch and plug it in here, then if I play a chord and then use the pitch bend wheel, it's covering a range of 5 octaves, which is pretty extreme. So what we'll do is I'll use the level control to specify the number of semitones that it covers, and I'll just put it back down to 2 semitones, so it's the same as previously. So play a C major chord, up to D, back down to C, down to B flat, back up to C. Now the voice allocation mode on the Poly Performance Controller is on all held notes, so for as long as I hold on to the notes, then the pitch bender will affect all of the held notes. So play C, E and G, then bend up, all of them move up, and down, all of them move down. If I press the sustain pedal and play the same 3 notes, then you can hear that the notes are sustaining for as long as I'm holding down the pedal, but because none of the notes are actually held on the keyboard, then the pitch bend isn't affecting them at all. So if I was to extend, if I was to play like a couple of low C notes with the sustain pedal held down but not holding the notes, and then I play a B flat chord up at the top, and then apply the pitch bend to those 3 notes, you can hear that the B flat notes up at the top of the keyboard bend up to meet the C chord, and the bass notes aren't affected. Back down to a B flat, but the bass notes are still sounding a C, and then back up to a C chord. You can also do it so that the last note that you play is the only one that's affected. So if I was to play a C 7th chord, so that's made up of C, E, G, B flat, so the last note I'll play will be the B flat, and then what should happen is that the pitch bend will only affect the last note held. So previously what was happening was, if you just watch the output level meters here, now because we've restricted the range to plus or minus 2 semitones, it'll hardly register here because this is like a 5 octave range, but you'll see that it affects all the held keys. If I put it onto the last note held, then the last note will appear with a blue LED and the others will appear with a red LED, and you'll see that it's only the last note which gets affected by the pitch bend. So that will be the B flat in this case. So that's a full C major chord with the C octave. If you wanted it so that you bent up to a note and then you held that note even though you changed the position of the pitch bend wheel itself, then you can put it onto the hold release mode, in which case it will so bend up to the C, and then if I release the key, and then release the pitch bend wheel, that last note is still sounding C because we used the release hold mode. And there's also peak mode, which will always track the highest value that you played for the last note. So even though I'm still holding the note, but I've released the pitch bend wheel, it's gone back down to 0, but because we're on peak hold mode, it stays up at that C rather than B flat. And then as soon as I play a new note, it goes back down to the 0 position. And you can also do that, so you can combine the sustain pedal with the held notes, and I'll put it onto the hold position so that I'll play C in the bass notes and just get them to be held. Then play a B flat chord up at the top. And then, because we're in hold mode, even though I'm not playing these voices, it's still holding the last note of the bent value of the notes. So you can use that for some creative type, sort of like pedal steel guitar type bends where you're only affecting some notes. So I'm not really a pedal steel guitar player, or I don't really do much in that genre, but it's this sort of thing you can do. So that gives you quite a good overview of what the Poly Performance Controller can do in terms of creative uses for pitch bending only the notes that you want to bend. And it's worth experimenting with it just to see what you can do. But the main thing to remember is just to use the control plus pitch output and feed that into your oscillators rather than taking the poly pitch output or relying on the pre-normaled pitch inputs. So thanks for watching. I hope you've taken something away from this, and I'll see you the next time. Bye for now.